All right, indeed. A very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for joining us this edition of the Tackle. This is the 23rd of September 2022, tarehe 23 mwezi wa 9 mwaka 2022. I hope you're doing well. It's indeed a very, very good morning to you. How are you? Mahali ulipo mambo vipi? Kama kawaida, when you join us, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. It's the Sharia Wiki edition of the 23rd of September 2022. And it begins right now. Tukona Onabi, Dr. EKURU AUKOT. It's been a while. He's back here on set. Good morning to you, Dr.
Morning, Bitok.
Good to see you.
I'm back.
I can see The nomad is back.
The nomad is back. Kwa nimechukua break kidogo. Kisiasa. Katabiri, mambo yakafanyika. Now we have a new government. We have a new tenant and in State House. Kuna Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President.
Annex.
Kuna President William Samuel Ruto. Watu walimtukana. Sisi tukatabiri maneno tukaangalia. Watu wengine walichezwa. Lakini yeye ndio maisha. So we are back, but now what we want to see is we want to see this government perform. In fact, I'm waiting for the 100 days. Hiyo utabiri yao ya 100 days.
The first 100 days.
Already there are a lot of issues that in my view they really must fix. I want to see whether Ruto's government actually would reverse some of the unconstitutional things that Uhuru Kenyatta did. Because although he was part of the Jubilee government himself, but he claims that he had been elbowed out when the Anshek brother got in. So we give him the benefit of that doubt. But
you're still watching.
We're watching, and we will make some prophecies today.
This morning. All right. Come on, can you like we get to know that you're watching us, and after you please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the program. Kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi basi tunakuja tunaingia kazi haraka upesi. Hizi ndio bitoka na tuko na Daktari EKURU AUKOT ambaye alipata hapa title ya nabii. Nabii mkubwa ndevu tuana. Ule angefungua kanisa kwa kama daktari war. Haya, mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, we glorify your name. You find an opportunity to be alive. We thank you for this day. We thank you even for this conversation. We thank you for every tackler who has joined us this morning. May you meet them at their point of individual needs. As we study this off, may be with us and when we finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. For you pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Daktari anasemanga tunaomba alafu tunarudi tunatusiana. But it's not true. I don't know the traffic situation in the roads very quickly.
But isn't that the truth about Kenya? Watu wanaomba kenda kwa political rally matusi.
Tukimaliza naanza kusema asia.
Hata baada ya kutukana tunaomba pia tena.
Tunasema asante Mungu. Sasa tunatupea nafasi ya kutusiana kidogo.
Hadi pia tunaomba nafasi ya kutukanana.
Tunaomba alafu ama tunatukana.
No, tunaomba Mungu nafasi ya kutukanana.
The grace of insults.
Yes.
Kesho baadaye Mombasa Road is being closed. Langata Road will be closed for 10 hours. Tomorrow Langata Road will be closed for 10 hours as installing footbridge up at T-Mall. Up at T-Mall they'll be doing a footbridge there. So I expect that road to be closed for 10 hours tomorrow. So if you really need to use that road, then amuka mapema. Kama unaweza tumia alternative routes, better for you. Langata Road this morning looking very clear, nothing to worry about. Nyayo Stadium, Aerodrome looks a bit jammed up, I think towards the roundabout at Bunyala. Nyayo roundabout looks a bit jammed up, and nothing to really worry about. Kama kawaida zile traffic tools are interchange. Uruwaiwe looks all clean this morning, nothing to really worry about. Wayakwe as well looks all clean, nothing to fret about. Thika Road kama kawaida lazima kukuwa na kajam kidogo kuanzia NYS pale. Leo sio mbaya from NYS heading towards the Muthaiga Exchange looks a bit crazy. Looking in at Kiambu Road, some little traffic. Are they from pale inaitwaje? Inaitwa Joy something Joy anyway. Hapo tu anyway. There seems to be some traffic just past the DCI, Directorate of Criminal Investigation, heading towards the Muthaiga Exchange. Also, Muthaiga Exchange towards town, nothing to really worry about. Limuru Road, kama kawaida from Gagan Hospital, looks a bit crazy, a bit jammed up, nothing to really worry about. Those a bit some traffic, kama kawaida. Looking in at Kilimani area, nothing to really worry about in Kilimani area. The traffic seems to be moving, except from Kileleshwa heading towards the Dennis Street roundabout. It's jammed up this morning. Looks a bit crazy this morning, but from Dennis Street roundabout heading towards the Aya Center, looks all clean. Nothing to worry about. Gong Road, some little traffic from Gong Hills Hotel heading towards the Kenyatta roundabout. but nothing to worry you. Looking at Naivasha Road this morning is clean. Nothing to really worry about. Kitanga Road as well is very clean. Kingara Road is very clean as well. James Kishuri heading towards Waiyaki Way Exchange. There's some traffic from the Mazima Springs Junction heading towards Waiyaki Way. There seems to be some traffic build-up heading towards the main road, that is Waiyaki Way. But looking at the way things are looking like this morning, nothing to really worry about on matters of traffic. But you have an incident, and if you can tell us if there's any traffic incident on your roads, then you can talk to us very quickly. Alafu mambo inasonga inakuwa walala. Mungalito continua. Good morning, tuning in from Convent United Kingdom. Good to be part of this morning show. Asante sana. Mungalito continua. Kisache Kiprop Sang. Thanks, Gerald. Good morning to you. James Olekoipa. Thank you. Santa James Okalo. Homa Joki tuned in. Santa James Olekoipa live from Loita, Narok County. Gagifate. Good morning. Watching from Treasury Building. Gagifate. Watu wadhika. Mambo vipi. Jose Olekoipa. Gerald Bitok doing well, bro. Thank you so much. Karikiwa Masi. Good morning, Mheshimiwa Gerald. Watching from Mombasa. Ala. Mimi bado kupewa kiti bana. Mimi ni kijana mkono hapa. JS Olekoipa falling from the Loita, Narok County. Gerald Bitok Kipkosgei Tarus. Tarus Kebui Capture County. Lucy the DJ. And I ops with His Excellency CIC William Ruto's government. But it seems it may end up being the worst in terms of looking into common people's well-being. Kumbe, I used to blame Uhuru bila sababu. Vile kunaenda sasa, niko na wasiwasi wakuu. Wanyigwa Kefa, Wesley, good to see you, my brother. Say I do Dr. EKURU AUKOT. I'm one of the greatest fans of this show. Thank you so much. I know, Wanyigwa, I know you are one of the best fans of this show. Martin Komen, watching from Sogomo. Asante sana watu wa Sogomo, mambo vipi? Sogomo nyumbani pale. Think chip kweli. Wale Soyinka SC cases following live. Asante sana Monty Anta. Good morning. Martin Francis sema kucheza na Mungu. That has been so wonderful conversation. Invite me. We toast our economic bread together. Karibu sana Silas. Daniel Kori, good morning. Gerald, say hi to Professor. Where has he been? He'll tell us. Alisema alikuwa amechukua sabbatical kidogo. Captain Sang, good morning. Money team, the tackle watching and listening from Kericho, the Green County. Dennis Kipko H, good morning to you. Utakuwa ready jambo saa 4. Tutajua mambo ya kesho. Saira Sirchilo all the way from Kapiego, Kipchumba Kipwamba. Good to see you, my brother from Australia. Great to see my brother Daktari back. Asante Jethro Robin K. Petition to release Dr. David Koech. And mambo ya jela. David Koech actually has been in...
Yeah, he's reading about it actually.
He's been in prisons. Kwenda Solari, understand.
And he has a situation, a health issue, converses. You know, this is a very important Kenyan. Honestly, I think many people do not know. And there is somebody who has just done a quick summary of his Jethro. Has done a quick summary of Dr. Koech, and I hope we can actually share it.
Yeah,
this is a man who,
what does the law
from his own money, actually bought the first microscope.
Hello?
Yes, from his own pocket money, and he started Cambry.
Are you serious?
Yes, this is a very, very important Kenyan. In fact, for me, even I think. I'm going to send a message to William Ruto this morning after this show. You must pardon him because the law allows pardon. He's a very, very important Kenyan. His property has been seized. He has contributed a lot to this country. Even compared to some of the fellows you now have in parliament as our leaders, there is zero contribution compared to Dr. David Koech. And in my view, honestly, David Koech deserves a pardon. And the president can do that. And I think... is Ruto back?
He's coming back today.
He's coming back today. Because I think if he was back, I was going to suggest we drive straight to his office.
Straight away.
And tell him, you need to pardon this important Kenyan. This Kenyan has done so much for this country. At least there are many bad people out here masquerading as leaders who have done the worst for this country. This man deserves a pardon. And in my view, I think... tacklers, actually, in my view, I think should start even a pay bill.
An hashtag.
Yeah, hashtag, and we pardon. I mean, he hasn't killed anyone.
For those who don't know, because it looks like you know some history about him, for those who don't know him, who is David Koech?
David Koech, remember, this is the man who came up with, first I think he started Cambry.
Yes.
Yeah. The Kenya Medical Research Institute, that actually David Koech even tried to establish the first cure for HIV in Kenya. And his idea was actually stolen by Oxford University, researchers from Oxford University in the UK. So he's a great scientist. But just to overemphasize, not to overemphasize, Bitok, this is a Kenyan whose contribution has actually changed this country, helped to change this country. Kenyan scientists are rated very highly, especially because of Kemri, and especially their finding on the cure for HIV. If you remember, there's a place in Nairobi called, is it Karioko? Just somewhere around Karioko there, where allegedly prostitution takes place there.
Karioko?
I think somewhere Karioko, after, just before a place called Biafra, California, here in Nairobi.
Okay. Not Koinange.
Yeah? Not Koinange. Okay. So there is prostitution going on, but those prostitutes allegedly don't contract HIV. So Kemri went actually did a study about this, these prostitutes. They have such a unique, I don't know whether they can call it protection or immunity. But Kemri actually did a study. And that study was stolen by researchers, scientists from Oxford. Okay. And they made a claim that they are the ones who made the finding. But actually, it was Kenyan scientists who actually made that discovery.
So what did they find?
From the University of Nairobi in collaboration with Kemri. So, and for me, the reason I'm telling this story is because at the center of it was actually David Koech. This man who is now suffering in prison. Crime. So I think if you are to compare, for example, the contribution of someone like David Koech with people who we recognize. I'm sure every year you see 12th December, some fellows being given state commendations, held out the burning spear or whatever. And yet there's absolutely nothing you can relate them to in terms of putting this country in the global map. But David Koech has done that. I'm not necessarily excusing whatever transgressions he may have committed, against the law. But I'm also saying that the law still allows us to actually pardon such important, Kenyans. It's like jailing a 100-year-old man or woman. There is that pardon that the president can't give, or even what we call non-custodial sentence. I think David Koech should be handed a non-custodial sentence.
What does the law say in such situations?
The law says exactly what I've just said. Okay. You can actually hand over a non-custodial sentence to a person based on, of course, the mitigating circumstances. And in my argument here is that one of the mitigating circumstances is to look at the contribution someone like, David Koech has done. Okay. Look at his age. Look at his state of health. Because as it's been narrated now, he has collapsed a couple of times in bathrooms in prison. So this is a person who you can look at his health, and the law allows that.
Okay.
But over and above that, you have got a chief executive of this country who can actually pardon. Many people have been pardoned before.
And I think we have worse criminals.
We have worse criminals, walking on the streets. We have thieves who have stolen public money.
And I think in Kenya, I don't know.
We have a lot of members of parliament who have been re-elected after stealing CDF money, and we'll discuss about the CDF today and the illegality it is. And these people we are calling them Mheshimiwa, honorable.
Well, let me ask you, EKURU. Looks like sometimes it's good if you want to steal money in Kenya, you steal a lot of money. Looks like when you steal little money, the punishment is worse.
The best.
Because looking at what actually the case for David Koech, I think it's almost 2-something million or 4-something thereabouts. I don't know. We have billions of money that were lost during COVID times. The people who perpetrated the theft were rewarded with government positions elsewhere. And like they usually say, the chicken thief is crucified.
Yeah. I'm telling you, let me tell you, one of the most lucrative businesses in Kenya is theft of public money. It's a very good business. It's very rewarding. Because when you steal 100 million, for example, and it's not me saying this, Kenyans need to read the Auditor General report. So what people in positions of power do, they steal from the public. Once they steal from the public, they apportion a certain part of that theft to the people who will come to investigate that theft. And the culprits, number one, are the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Because these are fellows who probably get paid something like, 30,000, 40,000 a month. Now they come and investigate General Bitok, who has stolen 100 million. And General Bitok says, this 100 million, if I give you $500,000, compared to what your salary is monthly. Yes.
Pesa si
yako. I've not stolen from you. So it's a business. So you steal and then you pay the investigators. And that's why you've never seen in this country nobody, from the Auditor General report that has been adjudged as having not accounted for, say, billions of Kenya shillings, has gone to jail. No one. Even Waititu, who is being charged of allegedly having stolen 588 million as a county governor of Kiambu, is still walking free. And he's still defending that suit. So, if I have stolen $1 billion, I can use even half a billion to defend myself. That is the scam that is this country. And I'm really hoping that Ruto's administration will address this, because if you recall when we did the Punguza Mizigo Constitutional Amendment Bill, and thanks to the TACO, he supported it very fully.
Yes.
We actually costed corruption in Kenya. And said that if we actually ended up corruption or stopped corruption, we'll be saving about 3.78 trillion Kenya shillings.
3.78.
Which is more than the national budget of our country. And as you know, even the president himself has said that, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has continuously said we lose 2 billion every day. That makes it about 700 billion annually. That's confirmed, and actually with the audit report. So when I look at, for example, how we punish, for example, the chicken thief, the maize thief in this country, compared to people who actually steal billions of money meant for taxpayers' money, David Koech should not be in prison.
Okay. All right. Heading in on David Koech, Jethro Kirobi says, petition to release Dr. David Koech. The matter of imprisonment of Dr. David Koech, former MD and founder of Kemri, needs urgent action from leaders. Lest he dies in jail. Dr. Koech selflessly served Kenya and mankind. He bought out of his pocket the first microscope fundraised for Kemri. Wow. Okay. He's 75 and convalesces. Has spent several times in jail, washrooms, a stroke. It is House power of mercy to save his life after service to the country. His properties were caveated, some set for auction tomorrow, Thursday, September 21st, by creditors and throwaway opportunistic manner. His condition and jailing of this top 500 World Geniuses Award winner is an indictment of national leaders, especially those who are mostly keen to buy Dr. David Koech's properties. Please assist him. All right. We'll share that plight as well. Eric Rono, good morning. Good show. Bitok Sante Vini Wakisi. Good morning. Gayabanda Muse, tuned in from the great county of Trans Nzoia. Good to see you. Kimngeti Ben, good morning. Good morning to you. Onyekwa Kefa, watching from Nyamakoko, Nyamira County. Asante sana. Please, if you can share the story of David Koech, please, you could have done the family some level of justice. Gideon Mogeni, let's do this. Asante. That's on YouTube. Davis Calvin Bumwane. Davis Kelman, good morning. Alex Mutedia, the best show. Thank you so much. Davis Kelman, they produced the first ARVs called Cameron. Okay. Ben Rerende, habari za asubuhi Bitok, ambia daktari EKURU nyai.
Jokonoi.
Joga. Awuri idi yake ya kang. Alright, tuanze na unabii yako kabla tujaenda sana. Let's have the video rap if it's ready.
Baba anachezwa. And I'll leave it at that. You'll remember me for this.
Baba anachezwa.
Okay. Number 2, sometimes later in this year, towards the middle of this year or late this year, nobody will be listening to Uhuru, whether from Mount Kenya or elsewhere. Thirdly, Uhuru has never been the kingpin in central Kenya.
I'm making a tablet of these prophecies you're making.
You should. Uhuru has never been the kingpin of central Kenya, and he will not be able to chaperone central Kenya into one basket and say support so and so. He will not. In fact, even his own political pedigree over many years actually has shown that. There is a time Uhuru was could not even win a seat in Gatundu together with the presidency. He had to recalibrate himself so that in 2007, that's when he had to support Kibaki.
was popular in central Kenya. And that's the only reason why Uhuru bounced back in 2013, because he supported. And the reason central Kenya actually supported Uhuru in 2013 is because Raila was running, who was mistrusted. I'll tell you this, Bitok. Commercial transaction happened between Uhuru and Raila. Raila knew, and like Wakili has actually said it, I don't even want to repeat it. With Raila outside government, he was going to bring hell to the Jubilee administration. Why was Jubilee worried about that? Jubilee was worried about that because it's a failed government. They never believed in anything that they promised Kenyans. And the only person with machinery, even political capital, to disrupt administration is Raila. There are many other voices, but Raila has had inroads. He also has a political capital, a political constituency. I mean, he has developed it over the years. So Jubilee, the genius of Jubilee administration, to go back into slumber and to fail to deliver on their political promises, was to bring in the only noisemaker out there who could actually point out their failures. And that's how Baba was brought into government. And that's how democracy in this country has been killed. Baba.
That is a professor from Nabii, Daktari EKURU AUKOT. Yeye ni professor ambaye tumesikia hapa sasa hivi kutoka Daktari EKURU AUKOT.
Is it just a prophecy, or it has come to pass?
It has come to pass, and that is actually more than 2 years ago, I think.
This was January 2020.
January 2020.
Remember, yeah. That was January 2020, if I'm not wrong.
So that is
when
more
we
than a year.
foresaw what will happen in
It was happening in
2022.
2022. Right.
We talk one of the things about our political culture in Kenya, especially for those people who are in positions of power and influence. They practice a lot of impunity. Now, what impunity does to people is it blinds them. Even when you tell them the truth, they see you as an enemy. And I'm hoping that going forward in this country, we'll begin to be brutally honest with each other, because that's the only way we can change this society. This thing of denial, like now, I mean, even you look at, for example, the tribal politics that we play in this country. Yes. So what? William Ruto is president today. Does he pay for Bitok's bills?
Oh, that's why I'm still hustling.
Exactly, you're still hustling. Yeah. So this nonsense of mtu wetu lazima aingie siasa, and we need to speak about this Bitok. And I hope that going forward, these are some of the issues that we need to tackle, as Kenyans, so that we shatter some of these myths, some of these narratives that are actually duping us, blinding us as Kenyans. We need to stop that. And the only way we can change as a society is to begin to confront some of the false narratives about our society. And this is what we try to tell people in, when the handshake came, and remember I was reacting to the question of the handshake.
Yes.
The handshake was and I'm happy that people and I hope you can host Babu Owino, the Honorable Babu Owino, soon. Yeah, because Babu Owino now,
I saw he's crying now.
He's confirming that it was a long con from Uhuru Kenyatta. You see, like I said in that video,
that's how you were content.
Uhuru knew that he wasn't going to deliver.
Okay.
He lied a lot about 2013. I think even used William Ruto.
Yes.
Just as a campaign tool so that they can get the Kalenjin vote. But Uhuru knew that he was not going to deliver, So, like I said in that video, the only person who was going to make a lot of noise out there, who even knew the system, because remember, Raila is our former prime minister. And under the National Coordination and, National Accord Act, he was actually the supervisor. What was the word? I'm trying to get the correct words. He was actually the coordinator and supervisor of all ministries and departments of government. So there was a 50-50 power sharing, meaning Raila had inroads into the system. He knows how the system was working. So when you had a lackluster, fakeless government like Jubilee administration under the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta, so Uhuru, in his genius, and maybe this is the only, we can accredit him for that, is that how do I bring the only person who can actually disrupt my administration into government? And that's how the handshake was made. But a lot of Kenyans do not know. The handshake was actually negotiated in November 2017.
Uh-huh.
Not 2018.
November 2017.
November 2017.
Tunangangana na uchaguzi, handshake ilikuwa tayari. Si wangeenda
1
tayari.
month after the election,
Okay.
that's when the handshake was actually negotiated.
Okay.
A lot of Kenyans do not know that. So the drama of swearing in January was actually choreographed. It was actually organized from State House itself.
Wow, okay.
Yeah? If you recall, I mean, let me just take Kenyans back memory lane. You remember, a few days before the swearing in, there was a lot of security tension. Then that morning, Uhuru Park was actually cordoned, surrounded by GSU, whatever, even the army was on alert, the Reke squad guy and all that. But as soon as Raila, and first of all, Raila sneaked out from his other partners, Wetangula, Mudavadi,
Nigeria.
Yeah, he sneaked out. Yeah, he told them, Ati, I'm going to Nigeria. I'll call you from a Nigerian number.
Tulieni, it was good.
Tulieni. He never left the country. And this is maybe what we need to
Chill. Kuna kanamba katakuwa.
Kunyeni chai hapo Serena, nitawapigia simu. And this is what Babu Owino needs to know. If there is anybody who conned the other the longest, Raila actually conned his co-principals.
Is it that story? Before you even leave that story. Before you even leave that story, I remember in one of the sittings with William Ruto, the president. So he's telling us about Raila Odinga and this and the fact that what he did to Kinaweta and Kalonzo was not new. So this is a story that you're telling us about Raila Odinga and Kalonzo and Kinamudavadi, telling them, guys, you go and chill until you have tea, don't worry. Hata mnaweza kaa nyumbani, msikuwe na wasiwasi. A number will come through, we'll give you a call. And,
a Nigerian.
Yes, a Nigerian number will come through. Then we do this thing. I'm switching off my phone because of security issues. But a Nigerian number will come through. So these guys, they chill. Kalonzo says he was at home in Karen. He's just chilling, waiting for Baba to call him in a suit. To come in and get sworn in as the vice president. Remember, he was the vice president. Then at Baba na kidogo. Wanaona bana Baba kwa TV na Miguna. Anakula Biblia. So,
and I remember I was actually at KTN on that day. You know KTN, the I&M bank. We were watching actually Uhuru Park. You know, as soon as Baba, his envoy, was now making its way to Uhuru Park, the security disappeared.
So here's the story.
Within 10 minutes, the security had vanished.
So
meaning, actually, this story was
so that you can correlate. So that you can correlate. So William Ruto says, during 2007, you remember there was a very hard stance from William Ruto at that time, and they were saying, we won this election, and there's no other way. You're not sharing the government. We have to get back to elections. We won this election, and the only way you can do this, either you give us the government or you get back to the elections. That was the hard stance that William Ruto had. And the opposite side was Martha Karua. So William Ruto says they were chilling at Serena with his fight, saying we are not, press conferences, we are not seating government, we are not doing what. Then as they were chilling, breaking news comes on TV. Baba assigned the accord.
Yeah.
Standing with Kibaki on the steps of Arambel.
And not just Baba.
They are watching it.
Even Kalonzo Musyoka sneaked out of the negotiation, went and brokered a deal with Kibaki to become the vice president. So, Bitok, hii kuchezwa Kenya kisiasa haijaanza jana. And so for me, when I saw Baba being pampered, I knew
something is cooking.
Something is cooking. And don't forget, let me tell you, I may not be as old as these fellows, but I've been around, I started working with these fellows in 2009 during the constitution making process. So I was privy even to the negotiations behind the scenes in Naivasha, in Parliament. So I know the kind of game these fellows play with each other. So when I saw what was happening, I knew Baba anachezo. And I even tried to tell some of my friends in ODM, because, remember, Baba is also my friend. And I'll call him and find out how Mzee is doing. I knew Baba was being played. And Uhuru was playing. In fact, is it not in this show that I said one time that I think Uhuru was actually indirectly campaigning for Ruto to be president?
Do you think he was?
I think he was.
Okay.
Uhuru was, in a way, campaigning for Ruto to be president. And the thing about Kenya, I know we are a pretentious people, lot. We claim to be religious. But there is a level about Kenyans that is honest. Ukikula mali ya mtu, kuna vile lazima utarudisha mkono. Me, I think
There's some guilt.
alirudishia Ruto mkono in a way.
So that is it. Then clearly your prophecy came to pass. It has actually passed. It has come to pass, and here we are. But even before we go to the next prophecy, I keep wondering, because this was very apt. It was so accurate, the way you brought it out and the way you prophesied, it was very accurate. I mean, down to the letter, down to everything that has happened. And one would wonder, because you see the scuffles that are happening right now in Azimio. Someone is saying it was this guy. So even Ledama came out the other day and he was like, clearly Kenya Kwanza won out fair and square. We had a bungled up election that was up. You saw a confession from Daily Nation. There was an agent who was speaking on it. You're seeing Babu Wino right now is crying. So
even
we had
Kanchori,
hundreds of guys.
Kanchori, the chief presidential.
So we had hundreds of guys who were surrounding Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
And if you could see this from outside the whole scheme of things, how is it possible that all these guys, even including Babu, could not see it?
I think one of the lessons we must take forward from this election is that sycophancy is not a good thing.
Okay.
There are so many sycophants around Baba. You even had Otiende Wamolo the other day. I mean, a person I know, we were with him in the committee of experts. You see, Otiende also claimed. But you see, one of the lessons, in my view, going forward, that a good leader must invest in good advisors, not sycophants. Because, my Luya friends used to tell me a story about a character known as Omunyambi.
From the Buganda kingdom?
No, I think it's from the Luya. So if you are an Omunyambi, Omunyambi basically is those people who surround the king. So that when the king farts, so the king is never naked, he can never fart. So the moral of the story about Raila Odinga and anybody else is that they allow themselves to be surrounded by many Omunyambis who will not tell them the truth. And I think for me, leadership must invest in good advisors. Because basically, if you're a good advisor to a leader, you'll be able to give the leader 1 or 2, 3 options.
Yes.
Then you tell them, you're the boss. Now you make the decision. But these are the pros and cons.
And
scenarios. But if you are just surrounded by people who want to use you, because you're and the truth be told, I mean, someone like Raila Amolo Odinga has invested heavily in his political career. So he has a political constituency, he has a following, whether blind or otherwise, but he has a following. But sometimes you also need to sit back as a leader and say, okay, who are actually my trusted lieutenants who can tell me the truth? It's like a general. You cannot just send your troops to war. You have to lay a strategy. You have to agree, how do I succeed in this? And I think this is one of the reasons why maybe William Ruto is a political genius in his own way. Because remember, he used to joke, even when he had a spat with his former boss, Cyrus Jirongo. And he used to tell Jirongo, Raja Jirongo, hii mambo ni kujipanga. So you lay down a strategy. Okay. Even the Tanga thing, I think for me was just crafted. I think that thing was
Everything
crafted.
was strategic.
It was strategy. I think even Uhuru to call him Wacha Kutanga was actually meant to actually campaign for Ruto. I strongly believe that. So you have to put together a strategy in winning. So I think... moral of there are many things we can learn.
There's someone who's disagreeing with you here. Political channel on YouTube says, Dr. EKURU AUKOT, we admire your sentiments in many instances. However, on this, Uhuru tried to do all he could to make Baba president, but Baba sycophants could not allow Baba to think. Okay.
To be honest with you, I think I will tell him this. What is his name, Pai?
Political channel on YouTube. It's called...
The name of...
They call themselves political channel.
Let me tell you one thing. This wanasiasa, you have to treat us with a lot of caution. I know I'm a party leader. But my definition of politics is totally different. For me, politics for me is the totality of everything about us, around us. But I strongly do believe that Uhuru and Ruto had a trump card. Okay. And the only way was to try and bring this mzee in and silence him. But I think going forward, I mean, this could be very unpopular to say. And this is part of the reason why people insult me on social media. They say that I'm a Ruto supporter. Not necessarily. I'm just saying that, Ruto has helped Kenyans in a way to end political dominance by certain family names or certain individuals. He has opened the door, I believe, for many, many Kenyans, including yourself, Bitok, and others.
Yeah, we can dream.
We can now say, okay, I think I can also compete. You remember, when I started the Punguza Mizigo Constitutional Amendment Bill in 2018, and I hope Duale is listening to me. I remember Duale calling me and telling me, Nomad, sasa wewe hata ukipata 20,000 signatures. And in fact, he owes me 1 million Kenya shillings because he threatened. He said,
we'll call him for you.
We'll call him now. Tell him he has to give me my 1 million because we bet. I told him, I'll get 1 million signatures from this Punguza Mizigo. He told me, you're the son of a nomad, bana kama mimi. Utapata happy. So, the problem in this country is that for the longest time, we have allowed the political dominance politically of leadership in Kenya to be like the entitlement of other people. And this is one of the moral, the lessons we must carry forward from this election. The issue of entitlement in leadership has actually, in a way, ended with Ruto presidency. So even in mid-2027, I'll compete with Ruto.
As president?
Yes. Anybody else? If mtu wa kutingiza miti wa Jakoya can be cleared, and the rest, anybody else can also run for president.
Karen Kiki disagrees with you. It's a fallacy and outright gullibility and astonishing that EKURU AUKOT claims Baba was played. Uhuru did all he could to make Raila president. Only that Ruto outsmarted the deep state. Let's avoid giving credit where it's not due.
But I
think that's where we close the Baba story.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, in my view, you see, like I said, I see a lot of Kenyans are also not looking at the fact that there was a commercial transaction that happened between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. Baba monetized that handshake. And it's an open secret. So, he was promised, he will support you. But because let me ask a very fundamental question, Bitok. If you had state machinery, all the money and everything that you can think of, how do you lose an election if you're not played? If you had the commissioners and everybody, the county chiefs and all that, how could you not have agents in the polling stations? How?
How is it possible?
How is it possible? If you have the state machinery behind you, you have the sitting president actually behind you, you have the intelligence, NIS and everything. That's why I still insist Baba was played.
Okay.
And I think Ruto was part of that game.
Very fundamental questions.
The only people who refused to participate in this election is about the 8 million Kenyans who refused to vote. And that's why some of us were locked out, because I think the intelligence knew there was a considerable number of Kenyans who could actually vote and tilt the balance. And what they did not want is a runoff.
Okay.
That was part of the game. No runoff. If you put in a Kina EKURU, Kina Wanjigi, and the rest, Kina Kigami, most likely, between us, will have shared certain number of votes. And 8 million Kenyans stayed away from this election. That's a statement Kenyans were making. That either of those fellows were not there. Were not their choice. So, sisi wengine tulikarangwa, and how could somebody even doubt my certificate, my degree certificate?
It's laughable. And you've been teaching law, so they're even doubting your students.
Today, I can parade to you, I think of our 500 students who can swear affidavit to say, this was our teacher of law at the Kenya School of Law, and even University of Nairobi, and the University of Warwick.
He also taught us lawyer.
Yeah, and the University of Warwick. It's a joke. This is the only reason why I will never forgive Chebukati for even doubting. I can give him credit for the portal posting from 34A, because that's how Chebukati also snookered people. And he followed correctly the decision of the Supreme Court in the minor KI case, that the final results are actually at the polling station. And he created that portal. Sasa hawa watu wazimio wakaenda wakazimia wakalala. They did not, watch their vote.
Everything is in control, Baba.
Yeah.
Saitia Keme says, Armada Daktari tangu ile siku alifanya prediction. Baba man was played big time. Mike Morning Bito, Mr. Brown, Dr. EKURU. President Ruto should nominate Dr. EKURU finance minister. This guy is a genius. All right. Tuende kwa unabii wa sasa hivi. Larry Gimanori anasema, good morning, gentlemen. This is an interesting topic from Dr. EKURU AUKOT. We need more Munyambis at the station for more insights.
I can see my friend Chris Wekesa is laughing. You're surprised. I know the word of Munyambi. Actually, I was told this word of Munyambi by my good friend, Justice Asike Mahandia.
I don't it was good. I've been Justice. What do you foresee?
So, my prediction going forward is that William Ruto and his administration will prove people wrong.
Okay.
The man wants to perform, from what I hear. They will struggle because they are inheriting, according to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, a dilapidated economy. Yeah, which is true because, and I think this is where we must have a honest conversation with Kenyans. Let's draw parallels, Bitok. When Kibaki left leadership, he left us with a debt of I'm not wrong, is it 1.7 trillion?
2.1 trillion.
Yeah?
2.1 trillion.
2.1.
I think I had the numbers, yes.
Yeah, okay, anyway, whatever. About 2 trillion national debt. Now, the 10 years of Uhuru administration has now left us with about, 8 point something?
9.7 trillion. Yes.
9 trillion Kenya shillings. So, Rigathi Gachagua was very honest in his speech. And I like the fact that he talked truth to power that time, publicly and as the world was watching. Because this is one of the conversations we must have as a country. Let's have an honest, brutal talk about what are our problems. Okay. Because unless you know what the problem is, you cannot fix it.
Sure.
Yeah. So my prediction is that Ruto administration will struggle. Yeah. There will be a lot of realignment. I think there will be a lot of renegotiations with either the West or the East in terms of the debt. But I also know they will want to perform. And I think if I were to give William Ruto advice, one of the things that he is being perceived of is that he's a land thief. People see him as a land grabber.
Okay.
If I was Ruto, I will even begin by returning Weston.
Yes. How do you return property you bought?
I'll give it back.
How do you return property you bought?
Because the perception out there is that he stole that land. Yeah?
But what are the facts?
But if I were him, because we will take care of him until his last day, now that he's president, even if it is for like a couple of months, we will still retire him. We'll make sure we take good care of him. Yeah. So if I were him, to begin to clean up this country.
Okay.
I know this sounds very unpopular, but I'm going to say it anyway. Just like my prediction 2020, when I said Baba was being played, people said, you're a joker. Who are you? You didn't even get qualified to be an MCA in your own ward. What was Lintukana sana? But let me tell you, we talk. Let me repeat this. I think Ruto needs to redeem himself, and I think he will, in my view. Okay. This is my prediction. I think he's going to redeem himself. And even this Weston, like I'm saying, arudishe. But pia akirudisha, aseme wale watu wote, all those people who have got land that they cannot account for, that they never paid for, pia warudishe. And in my view, Ruto needs to retable the Ndungu Commission report on irregular and illegal allocation of land in this country.
Kirudiwe.
Sio irudiwe, to table it in parliament for it to be implemented.
Okay.
And that way, let me tell you, we'll have addressed a very historical problem in this country, including the people who started grabbing land from central Kenya in 1965. I don't know whether you know about the Z plots.
No, you cannot.
It is the government of the day at that time started displacing its own people.
Okay.
That's how we ended up with Mpeketoni. Ngwataniro Land Buying Company in Rift Valley, the settlement in Molo. So the first victims of land grabbing actually were the people who said they fought for the independence of this country, to liberate this country. And actually, let's not pretend, the Kikuyus were the first victims of land grabbing. And it is their own people, their own leadership that actually took away land from them. And they deliberately displaced them. And that is part of the problem today the Kikuyu community is handling, because they are being seen as intruders into other people's land. It is not them. I don't blame the ordinary Kikuyu. It is the leadership, the top leadership. What they were then called, is it the cowboys, the home guards?
Yes, the home guards.
The home guards, who actually displaced their own people and causing them this problem today. We still, coming from Turkana, we have a lot of land. We welcome anybody to come and settle in our land. But let it not be used politically. Because the moment you use it politically, you're actually conflicting communities and even groups. And that's why the problem in Kenya is. So I believe if William Ruto's administration really wants to make change, they must begin to clean up the mess that has been there for the last nearly 50 years. Because that mess of 50 plus years has been created by the dominance of certain individuals and regions in our political leadership. And that, for me, is where, really, if he needs to make a difference, he must begin to clean that mess. Because then you are giving Kenyans a pathway, a new pathway. Yeah.
All right. So talking about them having hard time, that is the William Ruto administration having hard time, they started off already against the headwinds. Cancelled or disbanded the fuel subsidy, raising the fuel cost to 179 Kenyan shillings. Yesterday, they flagged off fertilizer. They flagged off fertilizer yesterday. 6,700 bags across the country. That was 6,720 bags that went all the way to up country. There's a breakdown here as well on where it went. They have said that they're not going to subsidize consumption, they're going to subsidize production. Wakenya wameanza kulia. Wanasema ulisema ya kwamba hii serikali ni ya mwananchi, maasla wataumia, umeanza kutumiza mapema. What do you make of that decision to ban or to disband subsidies?
You know, I'm not an economist, but my little understanding of subsidies, and I hope some of the tacklers here can actually contribute to this debate and to enlighten the rest of us. You see, when you subsidize, it's like going to a bank to apply for a loan. You are covering up for certain things, which means actually you still have to pay for it.
Yes.
So it's a burden that we are putting ourselves temporarily, but it means eventually somebody will have to pay.
Yes.
It is that government. And actually at the end of the day, it is you, the taxpayer, because government does not have money. The money that government claims it has money is actually our money. It's our. So what does this mean? At the end of the day, it means that we have to fix the economy of this country.
Okay.
We have to put money into people's pockets so that people are able to afford some of these.
They can buy fuel on their own.
Exactly. So we have to grow the economy, like we propose, for example, in the Punguza Mizigo bill, or in our manifesto. Actually, there are a lot of economic opportunities in this country. At least in all the 47 counties of Kenya, you can actually industrialize an economic opportunity in all these countries. That way you create jobs, you strengthen the economy, so that we don't need to talk about subsidies. Because subsidy is a debt. Somebody is covering up for that. Okay. And who is that person? Us. Eventually it's you, the taxpayer, who will actually pay for that. Okay. So I think the decision this administration has made is to give us the realpolitik of our economy. Today we are buying 1 liter of petrol at 175, diesel at 165. So now the pressure we need to put on this government is how to fix the economy, give us an opportunity to be able to grow the economy so that people can have money in their pockets, and therefore we don't need to subsidize this. For example, why not even industrialize the Turkana oil? Why not create a local refinery in Turkana so that oil can become cheaper? Because then we can tap the market in South Sudan, in Uganda, and Ethiopia, you know, and in the region at large. Because when I was in South Sudan last year and I was working on the constitution making process, South Sudan was actually importing oil. I was shocked.
Oh.
Yes. People were queuing for oil, to buy oil in Juba. Because, you see, the South Sudan oil, I think, in a way, has issues because of the relationship between the North and the South. So, as a country, we're actually losing an economic opportunity by not industrializing the Turkana oil, and then we can tap into the regional market. And that way, then we'll be able to reduce the cost of fuel in Kenya. You know, but also we need to end up cartels. Oil cartels are, you know, some of the biggest thieves in this country that, you know, nobody wants to talk about. And I'm hoping that, you know, the Asla narrative will be affected so that, you know, we end up this dominance of a few individuals, you know, strangulating the rest of us economically. Yeah. So subsidies is an important discussion we must have, but at the end of the day, ni mizigo sisi tunajiwekea.
Going right into Sharia in the, you know, in faith, or in how do I put it, okay, anyway. Going on into Sharia as a theme of the week, 3 things about also Sharia. Right now, there is a battle in the assemblies, about Senate and National Assembly, on who is the majority between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. That's the biggest battle that's happening right now, and it looks like it's also spilling over to the county assemblies. I think that's the reason why even the Nairobi County Assembly has delayed its sitting to swear in its speaker and all that. Then, who is the majority in the houses?
You know, the question of majority is a question of law, is a question of votes. Okay. Who has the highest number of elected representatives in either house, in Senate, in the National Assembly, in the county assemblies? It's very clear. I mean, we just need to read chapter 7 of our Constitution, representation of the people. That's what the chapter is all about, chapter 7. So the person who garners the majority, they take up the leadership of the. I mean, for example, you know, what is happening in the National Assembly and Senate is about political competition. It's about control of the House and in the various committees and all that. So, Kenya Kwanza clearly has the majority, in my view. And by that majority, they elected Moses Wetangula as a speaker. They elected Amazon Kingi as a speaker in Senate and National Assembly, respectively. You know, so you will expect that because that's the question of numbers. Otherwise, Azimio could also claim that we have the majority, but they never won the presidency. Yeah, Kenya Kwanza won the presidency by virtue of the votes that they garnered, and that should be that's
the common sense of that.
That's the common sense of the whole thing. You know. Okay. When Jubilee, didn't Jubilee control both houses of parliament? You know, they are the leader of majority, Aden Duale. Then they had Kindiki in the Senate. They were the majority as Jubilee. So what is this ulabalu about Kenya Kwanza picking speakers from either house? It is the same thing that Jubilee did. And nobody complained. Was there a debate during the Jubilee administration that why did they have Aden Duale? And then, of course, they choreographed. Even when now the handshake happened, you see Orengo was sneaked in Senate. And who is the other one who was sneaked in after Duale?
That should have been Badi, I think.
Kimunya, yes. Amos Kimunya was brought in. And by the way, let's take a pause, And I remind Kenyans about one of the stories I had with my good friend, Senator Speaker Wetangula. You know, in 2017, so Wetangula was sent to speak to me by Baba to withdraw my petition on the repeat election. So I told Wetangula, you know, senior, you know, he's my senior in law. I told him, by senior, you know, me, I don't eat politics. It's the law that feeds me. And I trained for this career. So if I withdraw my petition, how will I look like in the eyes of the judiciary, including especially after we put so much pressure on Justice John Mativo to actually deliver that judgment, to hear us in time and to deliver the judgment. So I remember asking Wetangula, how much do you trust your party leader? That time they were NASA.
Yes, NASA.
Yeah. Kona nasa watu, lakini kumbe, and I told Wetangula, maybe you will be naswad at some point. And Wetangula didn't listen to me. Anyway, long story short, when Wetangula now was can we say, when a coup was organized against Wetangula in the Senate. I remember calling him and telling him, Omwami, but I warned you, don't trust these people so much. I said, we knew. So look at what's playing out right now in the National Assembly and the Senate. I think really, in my view, Bitok, we should not even be having this debate about who is the leader in the National Assembly or not, on the Senate. Can we talk about delivery at the National Assembly and Senate? What are the three main functions of a representative? You are elected from a constituency. So you're actually going to represent your people in Parliament. So representation of the people is the number one key responsibility of an elected leader. Number two is oversight of government. Again, it's an element of representing the people. The policy of the government, how it affects your people. So you must oversight that government. And number three, most importantly, is to pass legislation. To legislate. Pass laws, debate policies that actually impact positively on your representatives, on the people who sent you here. So this nonsense of, we must build toilets and latrines and whatever and schools, no. That should be left now to the county government. Okay. And I hope somewhere along the way we can actually have a robust debate about this National Government Constituency Development Fund. Because, before it used to be CDF.
You're actually adding them.
Like I said in one of my posts on Twitter, this is a campaign tool. It's national government just giving a bribe to members of parliament so that it can still go into slumber. And this is what I want Kenyans in 2020 when the handshake happened. That was the genius of Jubilee administration. That the only person who can actually put us on our toes is Raila Amolo Odinga. So we bring him in so that we can go on to sleep. This National Government Constituency Development Fund is a tool for national government to be able to go into slumber and not to deliver on their promises, so that MPs can be given this money so that they don't oversight government in National Assembly and in Senate. Okay. And that's why we need to remove this thing. After all, the Constitutional Court already decided that it's actually an illegality. Most of those functions, if you look at Schedule 4 of our Constitution 2010, and I hope tacklers are listening, go read the fourth schedule to our Constitution. There is the national government functions and the county government functions. And now look at what CDF is trying to do. It is the same functions of national government. So why are we wasting money? I want members of parliament to concentrate on representation, legislation, and oversight, including oversighting their own county governments.
So you do think that money is going to be dispersed? Because EKURU attorney has said it remains illegal, and he has said we are not going to disperse money. The CDF kitties. What next? What happens next now?
This is now where the leadership of President William Ruto and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, is being tested. They need to tell members of parliament categorically, like EKURU attorney has said it, that money will not be released, and it should not be released. Because money is being released to the counties in billions of Kenya shillings. Let members of parliament concentrate on those three functions that we have said. Legislate, oversight, and represent. And representation is not only about national, it's also about the county, because counties are made of constituencies and wards. Okay? So let's focus on those three functions. So in my view, William Ruto administration and Rigathi Gachagua should not release that money. If there is need for any money to be released, it should be a portion included as part of the county funds. Okay. Yeah.
Talking about another illegal thing that has been ruled by the courts, Chief Administrative Secretary (CAS) the courts ruled that they are illegal, null and void. Now, the President William Ruto's government has floated the opportunities as well, and they have called the public to participate in the creation of those positions. Even administrative secretaries, it's been floated by the PSC, Public Service Commission. Now, what happens?
So, I think to some extent William Ruto is right in now involving the public. So this is what the law says. I think the law in article, if I'm not wrong, 132, sub-article 4 of the Constitution, says that, yes, the president has all these powers, But for him to create an office in the public service, it must be upon recommendation from the Public Service Commission. Now, Public Service Commission cannot just recommend an office. It has to now, it has to apply principles of national governance that are contained in Article 10. Now, one of those principles of national governance is public participation. So what PSC needs to do is to say, okay, the president has made a request to create an office in the public service called Chief Administrative Secretary. I want you, Public Service Commission, now to advise me. Now, Public Service Commission cannot act willy-nilly. It must go to the people of Kenya. Now, going to the people of Kenya, they will now invoke the public participation principle, which is a principle of national governance. Meaning, they must hold meetings at all counties, at all wards, and ask Kenyans, do you think we should create an office called Chief Administrative Secretary? And of course, we will ask questions. How are we going to fund this office? What is the cost implication of this office?
And the return on investment.
Exactly. What is the return on investment in this office? Do we even need them in the first place? So these are conversations that Kenyans must have because it's an office in the public service as per Article 132 of the Constitution of Kenya. So you cannot just create it like that. Jubilee administration acted illegally. It was, and let me tell you, now talking about this new administration, one of the ways this administration will fail, one way of this administration surely failing will be to reward political supporters. It must focus on how to put a government of people, of individuals, women and men who can actually deliver on their vision. So what Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua should actually do, in my view, is to assemble a team of serious individuals and tell them, this is our vision, this was our campaign, whatever that bottom-up approach means, this is what we want to achieve. And for you, Bitok, for you, EKURU, I want you to deliver for me this vision, period. But if they start rewarding political supporters, how many people can you reward? Can they reward the 7.2 million people who voted for them?
No.
Because all of those people supported William Ruto.
Yes.
So you cannot create 7 million jobs in a government of 5 years. So they should stop this. I know that's part of their headache right now as we speak, trying to put together a government of serious individuals.
That's the cabinet.
So in the first instance, we are a broke country at 8 or 9 trillion Kenya shilling national debt. So we need to manage that debt in the first instance. We need to find a way of even renegotiating it, even spreading it, so that we can be able to pay it within a reasonable time frame. We cannot do that if we keep on creating new positions, because those new positions come with a cost. Remember, when we did Punguza Mizigo, we actually costed our institutions, what they are costing us. For example, one of the proposals we made under Punguza Mizigo was to make commissioners, these commissions, make the commissioners part-timers, so that you meet like a board, four times a year. Let secretaries run the show. For example, if you ask me, IEBC, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, what do the commissioners do on a day-to-day basis? The law is very...
When there's no election.
When there's no election. The law is very clear. It is the secretariat that actually runs the show. Okay. It's the secretariat that does the continuous registration of voters. When they tried that scam that we wanted to verify and tally results, how was it humanly possible, and I'm hoping that the judgment will be out soon, that the 4 commissioners were going to spread themselves in the 46,000 polling stations?
46,000 polling stations, yes.
In Kenya.
Forms, yes.
For them to be able to tally and verify. It's not possible. So we don't need them. So one of the proposals for me, I think for this administration, if they care to listen, is cut the cost of government. Government should be lean. Let money go to the people. Like we proposed in Punguza Mizigo, and I hope I saw they stole this idea of the World Development Fund. I don't have a problem. They can even steal the entire document. But will they be able to implement it? I want money to go to people's doorsteps at every ward. That's why for me, I favor the idea of retaining the 1450 wards in Kenya as unit of accelerating development or service delivery to the people. As a matter of fact, if we concentrate on the 1,450 wards to deliver service to the people of Kenya, then we can even now begin to have a debate whether do we need 290 constituencies? Do we need 47 counties in Kenya? In my view, we don't need them. We need a very lean government. And with a lean government, we save money. With money, then we deliver services to the people, if it is health, education, transport, security, and all that. And that's the only way we can develop as a country. That's the only way we can achieve prosperity. Prosperity is not about expanding the executive, accommodating friends and all that into government. So what? These are people who will be salaried and they will be eating their own salary. Watakuwa wanagawana na watu kutoka villages zao.
Okay. Alright, bunge la mwananchi iko wazi. Bunge la mwananchi iko wazi 779-800-010. Bunge liko wazi nambari 779-800-010. And on that note ya pesa, maalum ya tu pesa ama noti. Now, a few days after being sworn in, the MPs are it again and they have colluded. And they are all asking for a salary increase. Salaries and allowances on both ends.
You know, Bitok,
do you think there's a turnaround?
You know, Bitok, let me tell you. I think it will take the people of Kenya to have a robust conversation to say that, why are we fattening? I mean, these are cuts. Why are we fattening them? Who today, let me tell you, Bitok, even your employees here at the tackle, do they ask you for a sitting allowance once you have given them a salary?
Unless they want to stand. Well,
exactly. Maybe we give you a standing allowance. See, why are we paying? I mean, listen, the salary of a member of parliament in Kenya is not small money. Let's draw parallels with a kawaida Mkenya who is seeking employment. When you're being employed, you see, if I send my staff out of town, yes, I'll give them an allowance for accommodation or for food. That because they are outside their station. Yeah, so that's my business. But for me to pay you a salary, a huge salary, then you're also telling me for me to come and sit down and do my business as per the contract. I also need a sitting allowance. I also need this nonsense has to stop. And I'm really hoping that President William Ruto, as a hustler, as he claims he is a hustler, of course he's not a hustler, can actually, apply that philosophy. If you're a hustler, you survive. Unakula madondo na chapati.
Madondo ni chakula fresh.
Ni chakula mzuri, it's very healthy. But I'm saying a hustler should not be seen driving in a limousine. So cut costs of running government. And you must begin by addressing this issue of these greedy members of parliament. By the way, if you want to be paid more money, resign, go and look for a corporate job or start a business. Public money is
don't even run.
Yeah, public money is not for enrichment. It's for service delivery. And that's why, I strongly believe, Bitok, that we must make representation in this country very unattractive from a monetary point of view.
Remove the capital from it, the money from it.
Make it very unattractive so that it can only attract people who want to serve. Not people who want to come. Because I don't understand. Let's paint a picture for Kenyans. You're a loud-mouthed member of parliament. The moment you are sworn in, you are given a car grant of, I think, if I'm not wrong, it's about 5 million.
5 million, yes.
5 million Kenyan shillings. Then you are given a house grant, which you pay at about what? Is it 3% mortgage? And then, of course, you have got a salary, hefty salary. You have got this so-called sitting allowance. You've got a medical cover of about 10 million inpatient.
You've got mileage.
You've got mileage and all that. Now, where is that money coming from? It is coming from you, Bitok, and myself and others who actually have to work to pay for that tax, those taxes. This is not even equality. It's not even equity. The person who works for you, does not even get paid that kind of money, does not even have such privileges as you have. So we need to have this debate because I think the kind of money that we are paying members of parliament is immoral. Okay. It should not. This is exploitation. For example, the President of the Republic of Kenya probably earns something close to 2 million monthly. Okay? Meanwhile, We have given this president of Kenya a free house. Hata toilet paper yake tunanunua. We buy it. Including water. So when does the president have the opportunity to spend his 2 million?
Money.
So even the salary of a president, in my view, should be slashed.
Okay.
Because you are giving him a free home, free security, free car, free fuel. Nini kila kitu. What does the president actually, and especially a rich president like William Ruto, does he even pay school fees for his children?
Who pays? Of course, he has to pay.
Does he even have grandchildren? I think yes.
They are grandchildren. No?
So somebody got married the other day. Yes, it's possible. It's possible.
Yes.
Lakini see, that's not his responsibility. But what I'm just saying is, for example, someone like a president, and we need to look at it from that perspective, has no opportunity to spend his salary. So he does not deserve such a high salary because we are giving him everything. The only thing we are not giving him is free oxygen because hiyo ni mambo ya Mungu.
Lazima atengeneze.
Yeah.
Haya. Didi, as much fertilizer, Russia is giving free fertilizer as long as you buy their discounted fuel. EU has no sanctions against any products from Russia towards or going to Africa. Jeff Moyer, my issue with subsidies is why do we tax a product to so high only and come and pretend to help by providing subsidies? Why tax a liter of petrol at shilling 65? As much as these taxes may be some conditions for loans, it doesn't make sense. Okay? All right. Bungala Munyenchi, good morning. Headphones on. Good morning.
Morning, brother.
Mambo.
Poa sana, salamia EKURU.
Mesalimika sana ndugu, habari yako?
Nzuri, nataka kudisagree na wewe. Kwa hiyo issue ya baba alichezwa.
Okay.
Okay, mimi naona I think Uhuru alijaribu kumsaidia lakini the real district. Ndio alicheza mzee. Okay, Uhuru as a person alisaidia baba.
Now the ni president.
Hapana, president is not a district. What I agree also on EKURU AUKOT, Uhuru Kenyatta is not a real politician.
Yes.
Mwenyewe hata penye alisema tu hata kuna first time kwenda MP nini hakupita. So alisaidiwa even his family wako na mtrack run the family business because hako na ability ya run that family business. So the real district walimweka akwe president. After kumweka pale the real district sasa ndio walikuwa na you see the way William Ruto was running the campaign and the people around him, those guys walikuwa na run with a very bright people. Which means walikuwa na the real district ile real walikuwa na Ruto. These other ones are just, if you see the Raila team, those guys were jokers bana. Hakuna mtu ungeona mtu anaweza reason hapo. Hao watu wote walikuwa tu jokers.
But unajua Junet Mohamed alisema hawa ni ng'ombe. Walisema sisi ni ng'ombe ya baba. So
ni kweli.
So you are not expecting much from ng'ombe.
Yes, true. Because when you get ng'ombe ndio they expect him. Alafu ya pili sasa ni ya parliamentarians I think kuna kitu tuambia ni hao watu wa parliamentarians wanataka kujiongezea do. Ile kitu tuambie wa Kenya ni kweli. Parliamentarians I think 99.something% wanaenda parliament kusaidia wa Kenya, wanaenda kutafuta pesa biashara. They going there for business. Sasa unaona watu for example unaona mtu anakuwa CEO mahali ana resign anaenda run for parliament. Na ukiangalia mshahara parliamentarian ni kidogo. So those guys are not going there kusaidia wa Kenya, wanaenda pale kutafuta pesa, contract. Unajua government ndio watu ndio wanapitisha sheria. Hao ndio wanaendanga kuangalia zile venye companies ina run. So wanaendanga pale kutafuta contract. In fact, I think almost all of them are doing business with government. So they are going there to protect their interest. For example, mtu kama huo wa Keroche. Sasa kuniambia mama ana pesa.
Na yeye ndio alianza kwanza na kusema ati anataka ati pesa ya fuel.
Yes, so those people are not going there to assist Kenyans. They are going there to protect their interest and to get more money. So unless sasa Wakenya, unaona kama huko kwetu Bomet kuna jamaa alipita young guy from huko Chebalungu anatoka Mandazi. Arina Asla.
Mandazi.
Tuko na mtoto anaitwa Toto.
Yes, I know that.
Arina Asla, though unajua Toto bado wanafaa wapelekwe nini kidogo. Ndaelewa hizi maneno ya legislation. But ukienda kwingine unaona watu especially Nyanza, I think iko na shida kubwa sana.
Yeah.
Because wanapeleka mtu kama for example ndugu ya Raila akia ni Senate. Do you expect anything from that way?
Of course not. Lakini sasa shida moja mimi naona, my brother, you know, this debate we must begin to have it at our constituencies, at our ward levels, at our communities. Because why is it that wewe mwenye unafanya kazi, una work hard, unaamuka, you don't get the same privileges from the same economy? So this is a debate lazima tukue nice. Tuanzishe hii debate in our own small ways.
But you know the problem with the population, they don't reason that way.
No,
they don't care. Hata ukienda ground saa hii mtu anakuambia kama una kakitu, hawezi hata kusikiza.
No, but we must not tire. We must begin this debate. Change is slow, but it will definitely come at some point. We have to start.
Yeah, true.
Haya. Haya. Have a good day. Bugala Wanyanchi 779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Kipruto says, unfortunately, I think we are overrepresented. Lean is the way to go. Lucy Kamau, Dr. EKURU always on point. Okay. So, Bugala Wanyanchi, good morning.
We are overrepresented.
Bugala Wanyanchi, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bitok.
Salama sana boss. Na tafadhali zima sauti pale nyuma yako.
Hello.
Haya, naongea nani?
Yes, we can hear you.
Naongea na Mabwai.
Yes, Mabwai, leta habari daddy.
So, I want to agree with Mr. EKURU.
Okay.
On the issue of the CDF.
Okay.
It is logically that CDF should be abolished because that is a grazing zone for the MPs.
Okay.
You see, that's an opportunity now for them to encourage what is called corruption.
Okay.
You see, that's why even they are now fighting for it in the national government.
Yeah.
So I see that it is now time for our president, His Excellency William Ruto, to wake up from slumber and realize that it is now about a moment of savings to pay the debt and now increase now make sure that how he promised the hustlers that that the life will be cheap. You know, it's about the common mwananchi.
Kabisa.
You know, it is about the common mwananchi who is there in the villages who are struggling even to put food on the table. Yes. Then that issue of where Raila was played. I don't think Raila was played.
Okay. He played himself.
It is, you know, when you're going for something, it's about that thing was like a competition.
Yes.
The effort that you make is accountable. That's why even one of my friend Oscar Sudi once said that Raila anastukia anaamka akisikia William Ruto ako Makueni, ako Machakos. So he was not played. It is the effort that he made was too low for him to win.
Okay. So the son of my boy. Have a good day. Thanks for joining us this morning. Asante. And Ndugu Abisai. And I think the biggest question is a lot of things don't make sense in the scheme of things of Azimio. A lot of things don't make sense. Nothing makes sense. So I still agree with you. Kuna vile. It doesn't make sense. Ndugu Abisai, Daktari is saying a very pivotal thing. We need to relook at our wage bill as a way of punguza mizigo. Jubilee First Administration worked perfectly well without CSS. It is possible to run a lean administration and channel the extra money to other issues. President Dr. William Ruto should look at making his administration as lean as it can be. Koloki Boy Chief Sasama, I agree with sitting allowances is for like directors because their work is not to oversee the daily working in the offices. MPs are paid a salary to legislate in parliament. That's their work. Ashori Welangai, all these people are rich. Collins Kibet. Good morning, Gerald. I'm watching from Kapsawar and Elgeo Marquette. Get informative discussions. Salimia Dr. EKURU AUKOT. From Dr. AUKOT point of view, I totally agree. DD, MB should be going to public hospital for medication and treatment for our health care to function properly. Same case to public schools. Wakabul called George Wajas. Tell that caller that he should educate the Kenyans of not taking handouts and go for those people who are willing to work for Kenyans but not their stomachs. Okay? Kaara Karis, a nice debate. Dr. EKURU AUKOT, brilliant mind. I like your thinking from day one. Punguza mizigo. Bungala Manyachi, good morning. Bungala Manyachi, good morning.
Hello?
Bungala Manyachi, good morning.
Yes, hey, Carl.
Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm good.
Who am I speaking to?
This is, my name is Simon Leo.
Okay, Simon, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yes,
all right, you're welcome. Please contribute to your discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think we keep arguing about Raila's case and all that, right? But everybody has a brand.
Okay.
And his brand is opposition, right? So for me, I don't think he wanted. He didn't want to win.
Okay.
Because if he did that, if he wins, if he becomes the president, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he is after his presidency, and then what?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to lose his brand.
Okay.
So to me,
I think we going about it the wrong way. Okay.
Yeah.
So he should stick to what he knows best, which is opposition.
You guys have a good one, man.
All right, thank you, bro. Say to North Carolina. Mambo ya dunia ni mengi. Mambo ni mengi.
He's good as opposition.
He has a brand. Kipchumba, the retirement packages of these leaders is bonkers. 72.9 million gratuity, yet everything is already paid for. Unfortunately, politics has become a get-rich-quick scheme. Sad state of affairs. Good conversation this morning. Good morning to you, Kipchumba, all the way from the United States of America. All this Kenya is rich, but wastage and corruption is what is preventing Kenya to reach the level of Singapore. If we had good legislations and removed the large sum of money given to leaders and stop corruption, we could go far. I wonder why should someone given sitting allowance and they are paid salary at the end of the month. Switzerland is a rich European country, but their leaders are real public servants and pay very little. But here in Kenya, we have more leaders and paid even more. Rael Kimani, we must have genuine discussions. It's true we are overrepresented. Our own area be represented by chief MCA, women rep, MP, senator, governor, and other crowded interests.
Including deputy governors.
Sorry, Walangai. How can we address the anger issue in Kenya? We pump a lot to the arid and semi-arid areas. And I think it's a discussion that we really must have, especially you coming from the nomadic region. Let me look at YouTube. Bungala Manyanchi, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Biton.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. So I'm so happy with the conversation you guys are having with the leading the government. But I believe, hopefully, for me, I believe Ruto will work on it for sure.
Okay.
So what I believe now is that how we should cap away with how the parliamentarians are doing, because those guys are just after their stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hope Ruto will make everything work well and everything will go good. Thank you very much.
Okay, asante sana. And that's also an international call. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Anthony Cheptumo, Dr. Spot on. Only knew that it would be a toxic to have Uhuru as a mere chair. It would smear Raila with the stench of Jubilee. Would Uhuru have supported Rao without him being chair? Advantage, WSR. Sabada Kemei, by the way, I don't get off this show. We talk Daktari, sharp and true to us. Thank you so much. Cleveland Otieno, as a believer in Ruto presidency, this is the same thing I have been telling people about returning Western Hotel, then implementing Dunguland report. I'm glad me and Doc are on the same wavelength. Okay. Well, channel, that is Minor from, I think, Botswana, says, Doctor, to be very honest, Ruto is not a bad man. Neither is he a land grabber. The fact is the narrative he was created to mud smear him politically. Kevin Kipkemai, the issue of who is the majority is just a game, gimmicks. It's a matter of party and coalition of political parties at the end. That's the end of the game, okay? Minor from Botswana, Bitok, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza asked not even one elected member. They all came out as parties, ODM, UDA, Wiper, ANC. That is how the nomination slots were shared. So UDA which is Kenya Kwanza, is majority. Dennis Kato, Morning Talk, an issue we can't ignore is the OAG always giving counties a clean bill of health, yet we know corruption is endemic in county governments. Okay, I think that is the Office of the Auditor General always giving a clean bill of health to counties, yet we know there's corruption. On the packs for MPs and other state officers, the president only needs to make it abundantly clear by reducing his salary and allowances. This is then made to trickle down. Okay. George K. President Ruto should remember the servant leadership. MPs have started demands even before the first sitting. Getting elected to positions in Kenya is just a way of enriching yourself. As last, taboo. Michael Kangate, Dr. EKURU give us good, long-lasting constitutional solution. Gave us good, long-lasting constitutional solutions years ago. But greed prevailed. Daktari is the saint we keep rejecting for Barnabas. Okay. Maina from Botswana, I think it is time for separation of powers. We remove the power of amending salaries to another institution, because as long as they have the responsibility to amend it, they will favor themselves. Okay. Morning, GB. As much as I agree with Daktari on the issue of NG-CDF, the president was advocating on CDF in Naivasha while it was declared unconstitutional. Where are we not seeing another breach of the law? Okay.
And like I said, Bitok, and that's where Ruto will begin to fail if he veers off the populist narrative. Like you see, like my chairman, Miruru Waweru, is already saying that populism without strategy will fail you. And this is what he says, that Raila is a populist without strategy, tact, is unable to convert his populism to votes. Now, Ruto will fall in the same trap by trying to be populist with members of parliament using CDF. Okay. And then he will have veered off the popular narrative with the people, that the hustler narrative. No? So that is litmus test. And I think, I hope we can continue this conversation in the months to come as the tacklers. We must lobby this government to cut on costs. Okay. We don't need a large government. We need services delivered at the people at the ward level. That is the only way, as we propose in Punguza Mizigo, we can actually equalize this country, or at least create equity in this country. If everybody in all of 1,450 wards is actually able to access clean water, electricity, security, good roads, Medicare and all that, then we'll say we are actually a nation state. That's the only way we can equalize Kenyans. But for now, if some of these services are only accessible in certain areas, like in the counties, and see what we did in the Punguza Mizigo, we did a study. When we followed the money that goes to the counties, we realized that the money only stays at the county headquarters. It doesn't go beyond the county headquarters. Okay? And it is even worse when a member of the county assembly is not in the same political party with the county governor. So the people in that ward are punished. And that's why we proposed the Ward Development Fund to be constitutionalized so that services are delivered at those wards. And that's the only way we can equalize Kenya. I see many people are comparing us with, saying this is what's happening in Switzerland, it's happening in Singapore. I mean, people from, say, North Carolina who have called. They will tell you that even in terms of education, they have what they call community colleges. Yani unaletewa education mpaka at your very, very doorstep. Unless we're tuning ngombe ni mbuzi, uwezi utaki kuteka advantage. Yeah? Unapelekwa kwa mto kunywa maji alafu nakataa kunywa maji. Sasa hiyo ni ujinga ina gani? So I think what we are saying is that we must take those services to people's very doorsteps. Okay. And that is the only way. Even this thing of members of, there's a fallacy in this country, ati lazima tuchague mbunge wetu, ati mbunge wetu atatuletea maendeleo. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Like somebody said, CDF is a gravy train for members of parliament. My advocacy, and our third way alliance, what we believe in, let's invoke the provisions of Article 6 of the Constitution, and I hope tacklers are listening. By the way, you can download the Kenya Constitution today, even online. It's available online. Yes. Download it. Read Article 6, Sub-Article 3 of the Constitution. There has to be a working relationship between the national government and the county government in each and every part of the Republic of Kenya. And that devolution of functions and organs of national government must be devolved to each and every part of the Republic of Kenya. Meaning, common security, we should not just be the only one in Nairobi who feels secure.
Everyone should feel
Everybody should be secure in each and every part of this country. And that is the import of Article 6 of our Constitution.
Okay. Bungala Manyanchi, good morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hello,
Good morning.
Hey, my name is George. I'm calling from Philadelphia, USA.
Okay, yes, George. You're most welcome. Please contribute.
Is this on the tackle with EKURU?
Yes, sure.
Yes, we are on.
Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to mention one thing about EKURU. EKURU is a bright man, and he's just mentioning about servant leadership that our president promised us on the hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame for this claiming for benefits when barely even before the first sitting of parliament.
Mm-hmm.
That's greedy. That's the worst greedy I've seen for our MPs, and I'm ashamed for them because some of them were pretending to be happy, going all over the country promising to serve people, but shame that they are claiming so much money, and yet the government is broke.
Mm-hmm.
Shame for my Kenyans, and I know maybe when Ruto comes back home, he should remember that hustlers work for Ngumu. And we people who work hard elsewhere are just watching the see really who is gonna save Kenya if hustlers. Are we gonna go for another 10 years?
We'll make sure that Bitok sends the entire recording of this show to President William Ruto.
We'll send him. We'll make sure he listens. You've already been sitting down with him. Come up, Briton.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, diasporas, for always joining us and for always shaping this conversation. We really appreciate you. God bless you. Good morning, sir. Great show. That is Joel Kipps from Australia. Good morning, sir. Great show today. Always great to see and hear from the Tari. Please ask him why he didn't appear in court this time and round to challenge presidential election results. In these observations, was the presidential election above board? I think you had already spoken into that, right?
Yeah,
I think you had said, but you can repeat it anyway, in the interest of people who didn't get that.
Well, I don't want to disclose much, but I was an advisor to one of the teams on the sides. Let me not say more than that.
I think you've already said it.
Did I say that loud?
Looking at the rulings, then you can always tell where you are.
You know, not every lawyer. We have about 20,000 lawyers in Kenya, and not every lawyer can. The way lawyers normally work, sometimes you've got a strategy team, legal advisors, drafters, and all that, and then of course you've got your frontline guys. So we do a lot. We work in teams. We share labor.
Labor intensive. Umbuya amesema, I knew it. I knew it.
What did you know?
I knew it. But let me ask you, if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, come on, if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, on Facebook, you're almost clocking 500,000. So if you're not on YouTube, then, please subscribe. I've posted the link right there. Please click the link and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're also watching us this morning, also on YouTube, please ensure that you can subscribe and put a notification button. And upon the subscribe, aweke kengele. Subscribe. Please subscribe and put a bell so that every time that we go live, you get a notification and you can always join us. Please ensure that you can subscribe so that you can continue building our community and make it bigger and bigger. Also, invite your family members. If this show makes you happy, then ensure that every member of your family gets to listen to it. So, head to our YouTube channel, I'll paste it on the comment section, and please subscribe and put on the notification button. All right. I think Daktari ulisema pia uko na kamukutano.
Yes.
So let's look at this. Daniel Kimani, I think President Ruto should go back to his drawing board, not to divert his attention to government organs, pumping more funds to uncommon man. Ruto should focus on real issues down to common man, just to change the historical style of implementation of government strategic plan. Why I say this is between there are brokers who divert funds to what is not meant to do. Okay. Collins Kibe, Dr. EKURU AUKOT, make amendment on a constitution, especially in terms powers of SRC. Focus should be in our economy, high cost of living, make quality healthcare affordable, improve our education system, for instance, including in our curriculum courses, to that an educated Kenyan can work anywhere in the world with ease and great jobs for us young people. Okay, Ombuyamwe President Ruto messed up the economy when he hit his pen on paper, stopping the subsidies for petroleum products. The president's action triggered the spike up of fuel prices, resulting to more other products increasing the prices. It is an unfortunate situation Kenyans found themselves in, contrary to the expectations of the new regime. The hustlers were eagerly waiting for the reduction of the cost of life. Instead, the president slapped them on the face with high fuel prices. The government subsidies on fuel play an integral role on reducing price of most products, such as electricity, flour, bus fare, bread, etc. But when the subsidy was removed, it triggered prices of many products going up. The president should have held on for a week or so and for an emergency committee to deliberate on the best way to handle the fuel price crisis. The committee could have come up with solutions or recommendations on how the fuel subsidies can be managed. All right. Bangala Manyanchi from Japan. Good morning, Bangala Manyanchi.
Good morning. It says, the talk, show.
Yes. You're welcome. How are you?
Yeah. Are you live?
Yes, we are live.
Yeah, I'd like, to make comment.
Okay, please.
Go ahead.
Who are you speaking to?
I'm Ken, I'm calling from Tokyo, Japan.
From Japan. Okay, please proceed, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, proceed. Make your contribution.
I'd like, to talk, a little bit, about because right now, EKURU AUKOT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's EKURU AUKOT is still in the studio.
Yes, I'm here, my brother. How are you? How is Tokyo?
Yeah, I'm calling you, from Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. Sema na sisi.
Yeah, and, and to me, first of all, I think, William Ruto,
Mm-hmm.
started, on a wrong foot. Like he wants, to please everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna, work, against him. Well, he's got, good graces, but, he's spoiling, like the graces he's getting, from people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. To me, what I think, he should, reduce, taxes. Once, cut, taxes, people will worship him, forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, right now, sisi watu tuko majuu.
Mm-hmm.
Then, nilianza kusikia ati wanataka, we have to pay taxes for sending money to our people. Sasa hao watu ni wajinga ama nini?
Ni swala nyeti.
Makasirika wewe.
Watu yeah. Ukianza kutukata, then we'll not send money.
Yeah.
Mimi kwanza baadaye mimi nataka dindi Nyoro. Wati ujinga bana. Sasa tuseme nikituma 10k Kenya ama 100,000 alafu ati nikatwe. Unadhania next month nitatuma kitu?
Wala bana. Lakini unaweza tutumia tuone kama watakata.
Ndio wati ujinga. Well, I know like maybe he's connected with those people. Waambie wa reduce taxes.
Okay. Wapunguza ushuru.
Na hii mambo ya NSSF na nini. Like my mama alikuwa ananiuliza ati sasa nitakuwa nalipanga ati 2,000. And then I go like, oh, are you stupid or something? Hii government.
Pole.
Niwache hiyo mambo. What the only thing, they can do, for us, ni to reduce, taxes.
Sawa. Haya. Watu wapunguze ushuru. Asante sana watu wa Tokyo, Japan. Wamekasirika kabisa. Wamesema lakini mwambie atutumie tuone kama watakata.
But Bitok, I think,
but for he's
raising a very important point, which is that if you look at, for example, there are two proposals I want to make, especially related to Kenyans in the diaspora. Kenyans in the diaspora now remit about 400 billion annually to Kenya. That's a serious contribution to the economy. But I also want to suggest to the Kenyans in the diaspora, the money you send, yes, you are supporting your families. But can we now invest that money in Kenya? Okay. For example, if I was to advise William Ruto today, I will tell him create what we call diaspora fund. So that all the money from the diaspora come to that fund. And that fund can actually even now invest in government bond or treasury bonds to fund some of the projects of the government. And that way you'll be helping your people sustainably by funding your own government. But of course it also has to follow, we also have to make sure that we stop theft of public money. And that's where the test for William Ruto administration will be. How they will stop pilferage and theft of public money. And I will also go ahead, if I was William administration, to actually appoint a diaspora representative. Okay. In fact, why do we recognize the diaspora as the 91 constituency, yes, but they have no representation? We must, and this is what we had made this proposal in the Punguza Mizigo, that since we recognize under our constitution that the diaspora are actually a constituency unto itself, and this is not just any other constituency. This is a constituency that actually pumps into this country's economy 400 billion Kenya shillings annually. Okay. So they are a very important constituency, and they need to be represented. But I want them to be able now to have a conversation with the government of the day, how they can channel their money to fund projects in Kenya that will benefit the country at large. Right. You can send your relatives money, yes, but in terms of really development and investment, you're not really investing. Okay. Kujenga kanyumba sijui huko sijui ka local huko kwa village yako, for me it's not really good, good investment.
Hello.
I'm seeing Adam Duale listening to us. I think Adam Duale is listening to us. I actually retweeted one of our tweets. Hello.
Tumpigie Duale.
Baba, sisi nasikia tu Aukot tu anaongea na.
Ongea nani?
Unaongea na Gitao.
Yes, Gitao. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, but we just spoke.
Yes, lakini sikuwa nimemaliza.
Maliza basi, masaa ni mbaya.
Masani ma. Pana, what our country needs reduction of taxes. Hii mambo ya NSSF and all that.
Taxes nasumbuo jamaa.
What you need, reduction of taxes. And what debt. Yeah. The very short, our country needs. Alafu Ruto asianze ati by the I don't think like he's gonna succeed. Especially wakati nilianza kusikia ati anaanza kutaka kubuild ati slums and all that. No. What he can do is just to let the people be, just reduce taxes, just let people be.
Haya, sawa. Asante Gitao. Thank you, Brenda. Tarimia watu wa.
Yeah, and EKURU is just very sound nikimsikia tu, I can listen to him until tomorrow morning.
Thank you. All right.
He's very smart. Alafu kuna vitu zingine unajonga mimi ni millennial. Kuna vitu wanasema and then I never understood them.
Haya. Asante kitao gedeka. Niko ngoja kwa Japan. Haya. Good morning. Bunge la Mwananchi.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bitov, this is George again from USA. I'm watching live and I just heard about Mr. EKURU saying about diaspora ministry or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention that some people who have never been to USA, if you go to Washington, D.C., Kenya Embassy, they operate like kiosk.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, anybody who has visited there, they know that place is not functional at all.
Okay.
So what is the ministry going to do for diaspora if their own embassy cannot work?
Right.
That's all bullshit.
Right.
They should sort out the problems with the management of their embassies before they even think about having a diaspora ministry.
Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Asante. That's a good question. I think the biggest problem that we have right now has been actually the issues of embassies. And you look also at the issues that are happening to our fellow Kenyans in areas like Qatar and the Middle East. There's something that Kenyans are going through, and the embassies are just there. These guys are just chilling, man.
Let's put this thing. Let's put this thing into.
But Aden Duale kwanza. Aden Duale nasikia uko na milioni ya EKURU.
Yes, alete pesa yangu.
Unanipea 50%.
Mwambie alete pesa yangu. Kwanza hebu tumpigie Duale.
50%.
We need to call Duale. But let me tell you one thing. I want to comment on something. There's a guy here called Bob Micheni Njagi, who is a political, I don't know, for lack of a better word, a political tout. He claims that Punguza Mizigo was a complete failure. How did Punguza Mizigo fail when it was supported by 1.2 million Kenyans? Mm-hmm. It went to all the 47 counties of Kenya for debate. Mm-hmm. I personally sold Punguza Mizigo to 29 county assemblies, mm-hmm. where I addressed the 29 county assemblies. They are all positive until the system actually realized this thing was going to change the face of governance in Kenya, mm-hmm. and they bribed MCS with 2 million car grant. How can that be a failure? Mm-hmm. And he keeps on talking about his non-starter project called Free Kenya Popular Initiative, which never even got, I don't even know how many signatures it got. And this is a man who one time approached us and said, we can work together. But I knew he must correct as ODM NEC member. He is not. We can check those details. So Bob Njagi, stop this nonsense. Support a good idea if it's going to help you. In fact, itakusaidia hata wewe. After all, you've been claiming that you want to run for public office never. Let's stop this crap. When an idea is good, it's good. Support it. Tuache ushenzi mingi.
Whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah, whether you agree with it or wrong. After all, in fact, Punguza Mizigo cannot be a failure because even this Kenya Kwanza manifesto has stolen bits and bits of it. Actually, the bottom of approach was supposed to be from Punguza Mizigo. Yeah, the World Development Fund. The idea was to...
Kama wauzaji.
And Bitoki, you know this very well. You supported Punguza Mizigo, the taco support. So, Jagi, I'll tell you, this is my brother. Let's have a conversation about how we can make Kenya better. Stop your political bias. I know you are an ODM member.
Aliama
hakuna huyu akwa.
Alisema Aliama.
He used to pretend that he had a ODM neck, but he was not. So like we free Kenya. Anyway, let's talk about serious things. I don't want to talk about unserious people.
I'm trying to
you see like the guy from Japan,
actually raising a very fundamental.
He's raising a very fundamental point, but let's relate this to how we'll be governed in the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is the advice we need to give to President Ruto. Mm-hmm. Ruto honestly needs to talk about austerity measures for this country. He needs to cut down on cost. Mm-hmm. And cutting down on cost means you actually deliver services to people at the very lowest level of representation. Mm-hmm. And for us as Third Way Alliance Kenya, we believe the ward should be our theater of operation. Okay. That's where you must measure. You see, for even to address poverty, like the poverty index in any country can only be measured if you look at it from the micro level, not the macro level. So we keep talking about poverty index from a national perspective. I want us now to go down to the ward, to the village level, and begin to measure poverty. And that is the only way we can effectively address issues, poverty and development, And I think for me, William Ruto, if he really wants to succeed, and that guy mentioned something very important here, he should endear himself to the people, not to friends and individuals. And once he has the people behind him, at a second term yake itakuwa tu ya walk in the park. But now if he start rewarding political friends, political supporters, that is the beginning of the failure of Kenya Kwanza administration.
Hapo nitaanza kuanguka.
Hapo nitaanza kuanguka.
Let's look for Duale. Tudai pesa kwanza tuone.
Duale.
Find Duale. Jaribu kutafuta mdosi. Kwa sehemu nyingine tujaribu tena.
Tumtumie message achukue simu.
Mwambie call back.
Mwambie tuko site akate simu.
Kata simu kwanza tuko ngoja.
Tuko site kata simu.
Tuko site. Wajamadu wa Japan kitao. Natumai ya kwamba mambo yako yameshughulikiwa vizuri. Nasema kata ushuru, punguza ushuru so more people can send in their money, their contributions. Political minor from Botswana. Bitok, I want to say this for the record. We Kenyans in diaspora, more especially, have a lot of expectations from this government. The relationship of Kenya and South Africa must be worked on. That is on visas. By the way, do you know it's difficult? It's more difficult to go to South Africa than to go to America. What the hell goes on there?
So, two things before you address that question. I want to refer to what Ezekiel, is in Doha, Qatar. Bitok, we need to have a very serious conversation around how Kenyans are being mistreated.
It's very sad, actually.
Especially,
I've been like this.
especially in Saudi Arabia and other countries.
Yes, depressing.
Including by the upper Tanzania. Including Tanzania. I can give you examples.
Okay.
You see, when you talk about the jurisdiction of a country, the jurisdiction of a country is not just the territorial, the boundary of that country or the territory of that country. It is also about its people. When you have an embassy of Kenya in Saudi Arabia, in Doha, that is the territory of Kenya by extension. And the territory of Kenya is not an abstract reality. It's about the people of that country. Okay. For example, the country we call Kenya is about the people, not the geographical location of Kenya.
Sure.
Yeah? So, the reason we have embassies or consulates out there is to take care of the interest of Kenya. And the interest of Kenya is about the interest of Kenyans. The natural people called Kenyans. Okay. So when our people are being persecuted and enslaved in Saudi Arabia, being mistreated, and the other day I was so disappointed with the Principal Macharia. When Macharia said that, I don't know, I hope he was not being misquoted, when he said that our people are not obedient. And that's why they are being persecuted in Saudi. That's the most nonsensical
They
statement.
say that nobody tells people to go. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that?
I mean, come on. You know, I'll tell you this, Bitok. I was once the chairman of the National Labour Board. And one of the things that I put for investigation is the agencies that actually sent Kenyans to this Saudi Arabian embassy. It's a big cartel. It's a scam. It's human trafficking. It's more serious. And I brought this issue before, and I challenged Francis Atwoli of Kotu then, and even FKE, and tell them, listen, we need to look at this issue more keenly. I challenged the Ministry of Immigration. Why are these organizations not being regulated? Okay. We must know that. I mean, if, for example, you are sending a Kenyan to an employer in Saudi Arabia, you must then have the details of that employer.
Yes.
There must be a way in which this Kenyan can communicate to his family. This is not a slave. You know what some of the narratives we had is that once they get there, they confiscate their passports and everything. Basically, these people are caged. They live like animals. They can't even breathe fresh air outside those walls. So this is something, in my view, that one, we must task our embassies. What is your function out there if you cannot represent the interest of Kenyans and Kenya in particular? We must talk about our immigration department. We must talk about our foreign affairs. We must now challenge the government of the day. To be honest with you, if I was in charge of this country, I wouldn't give a damn about Saudi Arabia and the rest. I will close the embassy and tell Kenyans, come back. But see, all that is happening. Why? Kenyans are out there to eke a living because we have refused to transform this country. Because let me tell you, Bitok, I'm lucky. I've worked, I've studied abroad. I've worked abroad as well. I've lived, nimetembea. We are a very rich country. The opportunities we have in this country are abundant. It's actually enough to take care of our 50 million population. In fact, we should be sending Kenyans out there as expatriates. Botswana, somebody's called from Botswana, for the longest time, the teaching fraternity in Botswana were actually Kenyans. I went to Botswana about 2 years ago, and I met a huge population of Kenyans.
Mine is actually in Botswana.
Yeah?
We have mine in Botswana.
Yeah, doing great stuff. Southern Africa, part of Southern, one of the biggest farmers I know in KwaZulu Natal is actually a Kenyan.
Wow, okay.
There's a doctor, a Kenyan doctor actually, who wrote the HIV Act for South Africa. And he lives there. Botswana, you find many Kenyans. Kenyans are all over. Kenyans are running the industries, in South Sudan, in Rwanda, and many other countries in the world. But what we've just lacked, and maybe this is the message we must give to President William Ruto and his new administration, what we need is a responsive government. When I worked in Liberia in 2014, 2015, during the Ebola crisis, other countries were actually evacuating their nationals who were there. There were many Kenyans. There were about 42 Kenyans who did not work for the UN, because I was working for the UN and the government, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So for me to be evacuated was not an issue. And secondly, working for the UN, we couldn't have left Monrovia because of the outbreak. But other countries evacuated their nationals. I remember lobbying Ambassador Amina Mohammed then as the Foreign Affairs Minister, and Dr. Muraguri then he was a PS Ministry of Health. I told him, guys, this is a global crisis. Why are we not evacuating our own people? It was so difficult. We had to literally I had to do a campaign online on Twitter and told Kenyans, we need to buy tickets for Kenyans. To leave Monrovia. Do you know, eventually, those people had to travel on Air Brussels to Brussels, then Nairobi, because there was no flights coming from. So I think one of the messages that William Ruto administration need to know is that for the longest time, Kenyans have been yearning for a responsive government to their problems. If you look at all these problems of unemployment, problems of our people in the Middle East, whenever crises happen, we need a government that can actually respond actively. And we now need to begin to question the role of our embassies abroad. You can see how these issues are all connected. It comes back to at the end of the day, to a kind of government that we have, to the kind of leadership that we have. I'm even shocked, Bitok, not a single parliamentarian has actually tabled a motion about the plight of our people in Saudi Arabia. Yet these stories are open, they are common. I mean, there are postings every day on social media. I have a lot of videos,
but it's very depressing. The things that I see in my WhatsApp, or I don't know. I mean, it's extremely depressing. And I keep wondering how the government can just watch that. I mean, I've seen people die on video. I've seen literally
government
Kenyans dying on
government cannot say talk that they are not aware of these things. Come on, this is in the age of technology and information. This information is being posted openly. If government can follow people in their own private businesses, why not something in the public like the suffering of Kenyans?
The worst thing, I tried to engage the minister, and you know what he told me? Yes, he told me if you go to JKI now, you'll find hundreds of Kenyan girls flying out. And I was like,
yeah. And what's wrong with that?
I was like, this is an explanation from a government official.
And you see, we need to go back to the fundamental question, Bitok. Why are Kenyans fleeing this country to be subjected to that kind of torture? Because the system in the country has failed to take care of Kenyans. Because the government is not creating opportunities for Kenyans. Let me give you an example. I'm obsessed with the idea that every part of this country and every county of Kenya as an economic opportunity that can take care of Kenyans. I come from the north. Do you know Lake Turkana alone, and I think many people do not know, you can check these facts. I think the last time I checked, Lake Turkana, formerly Lake Rudolph, is about 270 kilometers long. That gives you a coastline of 540 kilometers, totally unexploited. In other countries, a lake like that now will be attracting holiday resorts. Hospitality industry will be thriving from such a coastline. And that is an economic opportunity, an employment opportunity for many, many Kenyans. We Turkanas are not a big tribe, but this will be able to attract many, many other Kenyans to come and work. So we are not exploiting economic opportunities that this country has. And that way, if we did that, we will then prevent our people from leaving the country and being subjected to the kind of, mistreatment they're being subjected to.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, James, let me look at this. Okay. Suffer James, yes, we adore and we really need the embassy to perform its work. James Minor Bitok, I'm listening from United Kingdom. This diaspora bad treatment is in every institution. I bank in Equity Bank. They know I'm in UK and I deposit my cash with them for years now. I applied for a loan to buy a mortgage in Kenya and was told to submit tax returns and documents from United Kingdom. Imagine that. Peter Musyoka, I wish I can speak about embassies and the frustrations Kenyans go through. Daniel Kimani, I think we should talk about embassy, e.g. Saudi and other countries. That is top topics to discuss. Shauri Walengai, these embassies are made for political rewarding. We need an accountable government or leadership if we honestly do have leadership. Jimmy Mosoti, love your show. Mkuu, Sana, thank you so much. Gina, so Dr. Aukot. Though, how do Kenyans in Kenya treat their maids and workers?
How do what, sorry?
How do Kenyans in Kenya treat their maids and workers?
Or Kenyans treat their maids? Yeah. Obviously, we don't enslave our maids. We don't enslave our shamba boys and everything like that. We give them holidays. I mean, for anybody actually. After all, we are guided by the labor laws of Kenya. First of all, you have to pay somebody the minimum wage. You have to give them, leave. I mean, even right now in my law firm, I'm handling actually a domestic labor dispute, touching on a house girl, and they have got the right to go to the labor court and claim that they have not been paid their dues, they have not been paid for holidays. So the law is very, very clear. I don't think in Kenya we enslave. I mean, if there are people who are doing that, they are doing it against the law and against the constitution.
All right. Patrick Malimo, Dr. you're always on point. Continue pushing for Punguza Mzigo. I believe one day Kenyans will subscribe to it.
I hope Bob Njagi is saying that he's claiming that a free popular initiative is the most popular thing. Come on, bana. Give us a break. Signatures ngapi by now umepata? You've been singing about these things since G2016. And you've been wanting to ride on Punguza Mizigo. Njagi, let's have a serious debate one of these days. Wachana na hiyo puzi yako.
Wacha ndamuita hapa.
Yeah, muite.
Fanye the tackle.
Yes.
Punguza Mzigo.
Yes.
Versus freedom.
Exactly.
Freedom and free Kenya.
Free
Kenya initiative.
Free Kenya Popular Initiative.
Njagi,
let's compare the two documents.
Sema ngwe. Njagi sema ngwe.
I bring my proposal and you bring yours.
Nataka documents hapa karibu alafu mnanipea yangu.
In fact, I will send you already have mine. Mwambia tume yake.
So nitumie yako pia.
Yes.
Free Kenya.
Yeah.
So sema ngwe next week. Tunapatana hapa kwenye tackle. Tuone nani ndio nani. Kwa hiyo daktari, you can't peep into the house from inside. Your Punguza Mzigo is a noble idea, but you should champion it by seeking a political office and lobbying for it in the House of Parliament. Ian Welangai says something on anger and what can be done on Latin. I think that is, even before I go anywhere, please, let's pick that on that. The drought and anger issues. I mean, it's for me, I think it's the lowest level of stripping of data.
Let's look at it from a much broader perspective. If you look at security policies on security in any country in the world, food security is a component of security in a country. So what we need to go back to the drawing table and say, okay, what is our security policy in this country? Even before we think about protecting our borders. The first security in any country is food.
Food security.
Food security.
Basic level of dignity.
Basic. And we cannot be, for example, talking of billions of Kenya shilling going to the counties, yet in those counties, people are dying of hunger. Animals are dying. So it's a number of things. You know, one, it relates to our kind of agriculture, our food security, how we harvest water, how we all those things are related. How we make sure that in other countries, they even have what they call soup kitchens. Ukilemewa kabisa, just check into a food kitchen, unapata soup na mkate. At least that's a country that realizes we cannot have a starving population. You know? So we have to address it from that fundamental point of view. But even, let's go back to the counties. When counties get these billions of Kenya shillings, what is their food security policy in counties? And I'll go back to what I said earlier. If Kenyans are listening and you can get a copy of the Constitution of Kenya, I want you to look at Article 6 of the Constitution, where it talks about the closer relationship between the national government and the county government. Then it goes further to say we must devolve all organs and functions of government to each and every part of the Republic of Kenya. Now that means if we have got a Ministry of Agriculture, how has that Ministry of Agriculture devolved its functions or itself as an organ to each and every part of the Republic of Kenya? So that we are able now to address the question of food insufficiency in a country. If it's the Ministry of Water, how has it devolved itself to each and every part of the Republic of Water to ensure there is clean and adequate water for each and every Kenyan in the country? So there has to be deliberate efforts to devolve the organs of the state at the national level to the smallest unit of a country. And that will also address issues to do with food security. Because what is the Ministry of Agriculture? What does it mean to us? Every time this Ministry of Agriculture becomes relevant is when people talk about fertilizers. Hiyo tu ndio wakati unaanza kukumbuka wala tuko na Ministry ya Agriculture, fertilizers. But we are not talking about food
and production.
Animal husbandry and all those kind of things. Like we from the north as pastoralists, we are actually millionaires. People just don't understand. Because if you convert our animals, if you monetize our animals, if you create, for example, a meat industry, say in the arid and semi-arid lands of this country, you're actually putting money into people's pockets. And then if you do value addition, why in Kenya, Bitok, I don't know whether you know this, but 80% of the meat that you eat in this Nairobi is from arid and semi-arid lands.
Of course, definitely.
From those nomads and pastoralists. So if that is the case, why don't we have belts and wallets, shoes, coming from parts of this country, the semi-arid and arid lands of this country, And that way, if you do a value addition to whatever is available in all these counties, you're actually putting money into people's pockets and you're addressing some of those problems, including, why should a nomad have, 200 cows, alafu ati mtoto wake aendi shule? We need a government that can actually tell these people, no, you can commercialize an opportunity that you have and you can put money into yourself and you can address some of the problems you have. All
right.
So a responsive government again.
Thank you. I think that is 5 minutes to 10. 5 minutes to 10 a.m. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, Daktari, for coming on. And Jagi, nimesema ngwe. Sema tena ngwe.
Mwambie akuje. Tume document. Tuchambue.
It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for the tacklers who have joined us as well this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you. Still want to remind you that you can wear the best brand in town. You can get our hoodies at only 2,500 Kenyan shillings. And I tell you this, if you've always wondered how you can support us, you can buy a hoodie. Apart from wearing the biggest brand in town, you're also helping us to become better. So you can get your hoodie. WhatsApp your order 0779-800-010, 0779-800-010. Andika size ni gani, how many pieces na color ni gani. Alafu naanza kucheza na udi yako haraka upesi. You can move around with the biggest brand in town, and also you can help us become better. Thank you so much, David Akero, for your donation on YouTube. You remember that you can also donate on YouTube by clicking on those stars, and you can put in some money for us there so that kesho tuweze kurudi kazi. Na pia if you want to send us M-Pesa, 0727919322, 0727919322, 0727919322. Pesa 727-919-322. For those who want to do stars, you can do stars. For anyone who wants to do M-Pesa, you can always M-Pesa us. 727-919-322. 919-322. 727-919-322. And also, we're giving you an opportunity to get value from us. If you can see this, then also clearly, your next client can see it. If you can see this, you can see us. If you can see me, if you can see Daktari, if you can hear us, then it means that also your next client can hear and also see your product. So you can advertise with us as well. So send in your proposal or talk to us, call us, or send us a WhatsApp message or 731027727. Alafu basi tunaweza kucheza na biashara yako. We have a reach of over 3.7 million every 28 days. 3.78 million every 28 days. Those are people that your brand can speak to every single month. So you can advertise with us. And we're also telling you that we're still running our program, our trial program for broadcasters. We're giving you a 1-month free trial. If you have a content idea that you've always wanted to do, if you want to record content, if you want to do video, if you want to do podcast, if you want to do a live show, we're giving you a 1-month free trial on the tackle. This is the All More Podcast. Also, Podcast Planet. Join us, come to our office or talk to Steve on the number on the screen. It's written just right there. Alafu basi unaweza kuhakikisha kwamba mambo yako yanakuwa shwari.
Nimeona Bob Micheni Njagi amekubali debate. Sasa what we do is this, Bob, you are listening. Let's send our proposal in advance to BTalk.
Yes.
They will post them on the website, and then we can have a debate about it. So I'm going to send you excerpts of our Punguza Mizigo and the proposals, including the benefits that come with it. Twende debate.
Niko tayari. Hi, this afternoon as well, we're having a new show by MCS. We're having the S show coming up. Wale watu wanapenda entertainment. Sisi tunakwanga watu serious sana hapa asubuhi. I deal with presidential candidates. Nothing less than that. Hata kuna watu wanapenda entertainment. We have Sis Jennings will be having a show tonight, this afternoon from 1 p.m. Our live show will be coming live on our YouTube channel. And it's MCS. And we'll be working Kipsang, musician. This is a show that's all about conversations and entertainment. Mambo story. Ambayo inaweza kupigwa. Kama ni mtu wa kipindi na story, basi ingia pale this afternoon. Join MCS on the S show. And then you can have a conversation with him. He'll be joining us as well. Keep watching and keep sending us your reviews as well. And remember that you can be part of this amazing team with your content. Continue joining us. Kujeni, upige content alafu tunajua mambo.
There's a question here from somebody called Nakuru Senator, which is very important. He says that when can we change the constitution again? This constitution is not working for common mwananchi except devolution. I'm just waiting for Miguna signal. Viva. So there is actually, maybe just to answer that question, again, I for you to be able to change your constitution, fellow Kenyans, try to understand it in the first instance. Read it. And I think these days you can download the copy of the Kenya Constitution actually online. So mi nataka musome kwanza ikatiba muelewe, because when we did this constitution, we did it in what we call plain language, plain English, meaning everybody can read it. It doesn't have the legalese. So utakuta hizo mavitu sijui obita dicta sijui manini. It's in simple English. Number 2, please look at what is the chapter? Can I remember it often? But anyway, look at Article 255, 256, and 257 on how you can amend the Constitution. There is no restricted time frame when you can change the Constitution. The Constitution, is both the spirit and the letter of the law. So if it doesn't work after a certain time, you can of course invoke those Article 255, 256, or 257. 256 is what we call parliamentary initiative. 257 is what we call a popular initiative. This is what we at Third Way Alliance Kenya invoked. That's why we came to the people and asked the people to give us signatures to amend the constitution. Me, I don't know what article Bob Njagi invoked, but I'm willing to listen. Next week, where we can have this debate on the two processes. And even better, if we can even marry the two initiatives and we do it together, I have no problem.
better.
The better. And then we can change.
They can marry me, I'll marry them if it is working. Hello, Bitok Salime, Dr. Okot. 28th Constitution left out lower local government level, which would have enhanced devolution to machinani or wards. Return of elected town ward councils, 5 to 7 members with local mayors, wardens with executive power to provide local services. 290 towns or rural council funded by county city funds. I will call you next time. Wakili is around. John Karaoke, MD. Hi. That's son. We're looking forward to having that conversation with you. I think I had something in mind. I've forgotten. Anyway, articles now from the UK. If we want to solve drought issues permanently, we should use holistic land management techniques. It is being done in the Mara region in Kenya. Gina says, good journal. Thank you so much for joining us, Gina, for the first time this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you. Asanteni sana. Talking about Miguna is joining us again on Wednesday. The return of the general. On Wednesday, the 28th.
I thought he's coming next month.
But he'll be joining whatever show with them on Wednesday.
But okay, let me not talk about Miguna because
I know you and Miguna. I've never had a very good time together.
We've not, because let me tell you, I know Miguna will have his own opinion on this issue, but I honestly think one of the things that we must also do as a country, we talk, and as a people, is to respect our own laws.
Yes.
I found Miguna's behavior and attitude towards our immigration very belligerent and deliberate. Okay. You see, again, I want Kenyans to read this for themselves. Yeah. If you are listening, please look at Article 12 of the Constitution of Kenya on the right of
Article
citizens.
12.
Yeah, Article 12 and Article 14 on the right of citizens. Now, under the old Constitution of Kenya, the Independence Constitution, dual citizenship was not allowed. And I think it was Section 12 of that Constitution. Again, Kenyans can compare this for themselves. If you acquired the citizenship of another country, you automatically lost the Kenyan citizenship because dual citizenship was not allowed. Okay. Now, when we did the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and Miguna knows this very well because I used to talk to him a lot. Yeah. We now brought in Article, I think 12, sub-Article 5 of our Constitution that says a Kenyan by birth, read Miguna, who was born in Nyando. Once he acquired the citizenship of another country, read Canada, he automatically regains his citizenship by virtue of mere application, filling in a form, and he automatically becomes a Kenyan. But if you don't do that, if you don't follow that, that's why we are called, we talk of the rule of law. And Miguna as a lawyer ought to understand this. So this is so much ulabalu about him. I mean, he wanted the passport to be brought to his doorstep. Kwani sisi wengine si tuli apply passports zetu kati immigration. Yeah? And you see Miguna is reaping from his own political affiliation. He used to be the principal advisor to Raila Odinga on constitution. You know? So how can someone like him, who was a principal advisor on matters constitution, fail to just comply with a simple provision of the law?
The same constitution.
Yeah. Today, Bitok, if you become a combatant enemy, if you become an enemy of the Kenyan state, we can strip you of your citizenship. That's the law.
Shindwa.
You become Al-Shabaab Saizi, and you are fighting the Republic of Kenya, we will strip you of your citizenship.
And be countryless.
So, if you lost your citizenship by virtue of the old constitution, you can regain it by simple application.
I think there's a question I'll need to ask him on Wednesday.
Muulize.
And
I want you to ask him to read, and I'll share this with you in advance, Section 12 of the old Constitution, the Independence Constitution, which is called the 1963 Constitution, and now Article 12, Article 14 of the current Constitution. And what it says about dual citizenship. And once you lost it, you can regain it.
Okay.
So,
tuache
drama mingi about this.
Kama niko na maswali hapa tayari nimechangiwa na daktari. Kutane on Wednesday. But before Wednesday, of course, we're having the Punguza versus Free Kenya initiative duel. That will happen right here on the tackle.
Yes.
Until Monday, the Common Sense edition. Love you. Take care and bye-bye. Enjoy your weekend. And remember to take care and be safe. Amboni kubaya huku nje. Bye-bye.